And welcome to Public Works Committee. I got Kiki Miller on my left, your right, and Dan Gookin on my right, your left.
Stage right.
And we are here to start our meeting. Our first thing up to date today is Mike Becker from, we call it wastewater. He's got a good way to spend some money, Mikey.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Wonderful Monday that we have, and Wastewater would like to thank you for the opportunity to present our request for a change order for a new hot water boiler system in the amount of $95,482 from R.B. Wilbur and Company. So, a little history. Wastewater Department utilizes two boilers. They heat several of our buildings as well as the plant's digestion sludge process. In accordance with our facility plan, these boilers have exceeded their life and are scheduled for replacement. Last winter, as you may recall, we brought before council bids, and council approved lowest responsive bidder of R.B. Wilbur. The other bidder came in at a significant dollar amount higher. So we have placed an order. We have received the new boiler unit. It still needs to be installed. In preparation for next year's budget and given the present economic status, we thought we would solicit quotes on what another boiler would cost of the same design. We are trying to standardize all of our equipment, and that includes our boilers. Pictured here is a type of boiler system that we are going to be installing. So the city paid $83,705 for this boiler unit. The next lowest bidder was $148,900. And because we anticipate an increase in boiler costs, we thought we'd go ahead and find out just how much we need to budget for next year. R.B. Wilbur went ahead and provided us with a quote of, whoops, I jumped around here. So on the right is the new boiler. On the left is what it is replacing. So R.B. Wilbur came in with a revised quote of $95,482. This is for a complete package deal. It's exactly the same as what we had placed last winter. But this quote is only good for the next 45 days. And we're seeing a lot of this. So we have to place that order before July 1st. Keep in mind that this quote still falls with under 35% of the next lowest bidder. So either way, we're gonna have to replace that boiler. We can either go out the bids in the next fiscal year or take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to the Public Works Commission today. Again, presently, this boiler is scheduled and budgeted for the next fiscal year for replacement. The added benefits besides the cost savings of this would fall under that this boiler is more efficient. In other words, there would be less heat demands. We'd like to get it installed before next winter. That would be nice, just to reassure us that we have two boilers in place. There'd be no disruptions in service, and this boiler offers less demand in natural gas, where we can still burn our methane that's produced at the treatment plant. R.B. Wilbur has done a pretty good job thus so far, has done on several previous projects with us, so we feel confident that they will be able to provide us with this boiler. So it is a staff's recommendation that the Public Works Commission authorized the wastewater department to execute, that City Council authorized the wastewater department to execute a change order with R.B. Wilbur for the amount of $95,482. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Mr. Gookin?
Nope, I agree, buy it now.
Kiki?
unless you have a crystal ball you want to share about what future might bring, this seems like a pretty responsible move.
I have just one question. When we plan to replace two of the same things within the same year, is that the norm? Or do you try and always offset one so that if one goes down, you have the other as a backup?
We have two of everything, just in case one goes down, we have a backup. Right now, the old, one boiler is not functioning.
Okay.
The other boiler is functioning for our needs now,
Okay.
but given that it's exceeded its useful life, we want to take advantage of that, we would hope, before winter flies.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'd look for a motion.
I would make a motion that we authorize the execution of a change order with RB Wilbur Company, Inc. for a complete hot water boiler replacement system in the amount of $95,482.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the way from Streets and Engineering, it's Dennis Grant.
Hey.
Welcome, Dennis.
Good to see you in person.
Yes, thank you. Good to be back. All right, so we have a couple vacations that we have today to set up public hearings. And the first one is, the applicant is Greenstone Kootenai, and they're requesting the vacation of a portion of Wilbur Avenue right-of-way that adjoins Ramsey Avenue to the west between Canfield Avenue and the new Wilbert Avenue to the north. So on the exhibit there, you can see the red highlighted area here. That's Wilbur Avenue. And then the new Wilbur is up in this area off of Ramsey, and it's currently there. And this is the area that is to be vacated. The purpose of this request is to vacate, it's about a 41-foot wide dead-end strip of unimproved street, and the additional right-of-way can be incorporated into the development of the adjoining properties. All utilities are existing and in place, and there is no foreseeable use for this additional right-of-way. The development review team was informed about this vacation and has no objection, so staff recommends that council proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and recommends setting June 15th, 2021 as the date for the public hearing of this item. Any questions?
Questions?
No, Dennis, is that where that Wilbur Avenue, just this little portion in the red, does it actually end right there, or
Yep.
does the easement go further?
I think what happened is, this is part of that, we've had a few of them come through,
Yeah.
that Hayden irrigation tracts.
Irrigation tract.
But I think it might have been vacated, because this is a wider piece. And then there, in 1992, there was a survey done by Welch Comer that showed this piece here. And I think the bottom line is the county shows it still as a street. Therefore, they want us to vacate it before Schneidmiller can move on. So I'm not particularly sure where that came from, but that's kind
Okay,
of the, yeah.
same thing.
But kind of the same idea, yeah.
So one question, so the new Wilbur, is that gonna ever push all the way through? Or is that just gonna go into the,
Well, in a sense it will, but I mean, not really as Wilbur. It'll go into that Coeur d'Alene Place
Right.
subdivision and probably pretty quick. But it'll turn into whatever street is left, or Cornwall or whatever is over there. But-
Just remind the engineers that when they put it in, to make it jog over about 50 feet so that it works like all the other streets in the city.
Oh, yes, like on
Yeah, you know
Harrison
that.
where the 7th Street.
Right, yeah, you know,
okay.
7th Street, yeah.
Well, the different section lines, you know.
We gotta be consistent.
yeah, it would be nice
Thanks.
to start doing it, huh? With that, I'd look for a motion, please.
I'll do the motion to recommend council proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and set a public hearing for June 15th, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments, questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on.
Okay, vacation number 2. The applicant is Glacier Northwest Boulevard / Celtice LLC, and they're requesting the vacation of a portion of right-of-way that adjoins the northeasterly boundary of their property on Celtice Way. I do have an aerial, Woody, if you want to look at it, but this is actually probably a better picture. But here's Celtice Way and Northwest Boulevard, and here's the area that is proposed to be vacated. And then this is, well, I'll say that, I'll tell you about this here in a second. So, the history, approved on May 4th, 2021, council meeting from Chris Bolsley, city engineer, was an agreement with Glacier Northwest to relocate the right slip lane, which is right here. This is the existing slip lane. To provide a better visibility for traffic entering Northwest Boulevard, a shared use path, and an installation of a 12-inch water main. Extension of the shared use path to the northwest would be completed by Glacier upon development of the parcel and their adjacent parcel. The right turn slip lane would not only improve safety, it would allow additional separation for a proposed right-in and right-out driveway approach access, which is this area right here. The 12-inch water main will be installed per the water department specifications. The vacation of the requested right-of-way would not have any financial impact on the city and would add approximately 7,500 square feet to the county tax roll. This is a minor amount, but it'll be a benefit to the city or the municipality and to the landowner who owns the adjacent strip of land or property. The purpose of this request is to provide additional development area for the reference parcel. All utilities are existing and in place except for that installation of that 12-inch main over in this area. And the development review team was informed about this vacation. Staff recommends the council to proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and recommends setting the June 15th, 2021 as the date for the public hearing of this item.
Questions?
Well, just, my office used to be where that slip lane is. 25 years ago, there was a little building there, and that was
Oh,
my
really?
office. So that's
There it
not a
goes.
question.
There
I'm
goes your
just telling you.
history.
I'm just telling you.
Get a picture quick, no.
It's all gone. It's all gone.
All right, hearing no questions, we went through this, I think, right?
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
So I'll look for a motion, please.
I move and recommend that council proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and set a public hearing for June 15th, 2021.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you on the 15th.
Welcome Deputy Fire Chief Thomas Grief, sorry. I'm all nervous for you, Tom.
Are you?
No.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to share our presentation of the fire department with you today. So what I have first, I'm going to show you a short video that we created within the fire department. We were able to secure approximately $70,000 in AV equipment this last year through the CARES Act. It was Deputy Chief DeRuyter with help from Jeff Crow. This AV equipment will greatly enhance our training and our public outreach capabilities for both police and fire. And so this was our first video that is a result of that equipment that we were able to secure. And then following the video, I have a short PowerPoint for you, and then I'll entertain some questions that I know you guys will probably have.
Coeur d'Alene Fire for a structure fire, 4455 Lennox Loop. We're getting several calls on this. Several neighbors are outside and they're trying to attack it with those.
Central BC, go ahead and start a second alarm for me then, please.
Nice, Tom.
So you guys spent $70,000 of COVID money to build a TV studio.
We did.
That your chief behind you is disagreeing with you.
It's by no means a TV studio. It is a wonderful opportunity to enhance more than a handheld GoPro. So we didn't know how long COVID was going to last. So in a partnership with the police department, we thought, how can we better serve our folks in our community and do virtual tours and a whole huge Madrid of different things. We had the opportunity to go get something pretty spectacular through the COVID relief fund, yes, sir. But
So what does this have to do with COVID?
our ability to, then it was gonna be our ability to do in-house training. Because we cut off training for 8, 9 months, as did the police department. So the hope was it will continue to be in the future that we can do in-house training through video.
So it didn't get finished before COVID?
Well, we didn't get all the stuff until not very long ago.
Okay. And how does it play into your mission statement?
Training and community outreach. It would be, the community outreach is actually as big as anything that we do, because we're actually getting back a little bit to normal with training, whatever normal looks like anymore, but our ability to do community outreach is gonna be huge.
I like your guys. I want to see them trained and I want to see them properly equipped, but this seems like you just spent money because it was available.
Well, we did have an opportunity to do something, and I guess we could look at it a lot of different ways. We had the ability to get something we thought would enhance our mission statement. I appreciate you saying that. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, we took advantage of it. If take advantage is the right word, we seized an opportunity.
You know, I noticed that during COVID, the government seized a lot of opportunities for things that I don't think we normally would have spent money on just because the money was there. And I like you, Chief, and I like stuff, but this is just maybe pushing the edge a little bit on what I would define as a fire department. You know, and I know what you guys do, and I appreciate it. I think the whole city does, but yeah, so just to let you know.
Okay, well, I appreciate
Thank
that, and
you.
I'd be happy to speak to you and show it to you anytime you want. You know my door is always open for you.
I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
In addition to what the chief said, we also have to anticipate what's gonna happen in the fall of this year too, with possibility of schools. If the pandemic rears its head again and the kids are in distant learning where they're at home, we still have to provide the public education to them that we would normally go visit them in the fires, or they'd come to the fire stations or we go to the school. So that was part of this preparation too, is how are we still gonna deliver our message of fire safety to the kids in school, especially the young ones. We start hitting them pretty hard in 2nd and 3rd grade, and then we go into the high schools and help with their health classes and stuff like that. So this is all part of that too, not just for the police and fire training, but it went into a lot of thought process when we decided to go for it. With that, so the fire services in general.
Can I just make a comment on that?
Yes.
Because I wanted to follow up. I appreciate your comments. When I've been touring the stations just recently, and I got to go look at this AV equipment and how they're utilizing it and what they're doing. And what one of the staff told me at that time is that, you know, nobody had the crystal ball. I think the water department had the crystal ball, but anyway, nobody had the crystal ball as far as what was gonna happen during the pandemic and how it would play out. And they said, this replaces our field trips, and we have a whole bunch of work to do with this. And it was field trips for police and fire, and that's an extensive piece of it. So I looked at that and thought, well, that seems like, at the time, that was a pretty prudent and positive purchase. The other thing is the technology that police and fire were using before was almost non-existent. So it was an upgrade that was gonna come eventually, and this made sense to say, we don't have field trips right now, so this is how we're gonna do this and keep people healthy and keep people trained and informed, so.
Right.
I just looked at it that way, replaces our field trips.
We've been
Thanks, that
able-
was my comment.
We've been
a
able to
good
help other
cooperative use.
agencies too through this. The Kootenai County EMS system has acquired a lot of equipment, the Aeroclave units, the PAPR hoods for the pandemic. And so to be able to do in-service videos and blast it out to the providers in the county was invaluable for us because we weren't able to get together. So those are just some of the examples. But yeah, if you have any other questions,
Nope.
though, I mean, we would love to talk more about that. So the fire service in general, every fire department has its own mission statement, but in general, the fire service as a whole is save lives and protect property. That was our marching orders decades ago. As we move forward, some events have driven the fire service into new uncharted territories that we weren't used to. Some of these events, obviously 9/11, the unfortunate frequency of active shooter events in communities across this country have driven us into the rescue task force teams that we have on all of our fire engines. Mother Nature got us into the canine world, and some of those events that you're familiar with was the landslide in Oso, Washington 5 years ago. We've deployed to hurricanes in Hawaii, Florida, Texas, and then the most recent was the recovery up at Silver Mountain last year, and our dog team was deployed to that, and they were an integral part of that recovery up there. And then some of the things that I wanted to talk about the things that we do, but everybody knows we go to fires, we provide medical care, we go to car wrecks, but some of these things that the public doesn't know that we do is what I wanted to focus on today, the things behind the scenes. We have SWAT paramedics, so we have 2 paramedics that are currently on the Kootenai County Joint SWAT team, and they train with them, they get deployed with them, and so that's an important part of that team also, and we're trying to grow that as we move forward. We have become an all-hazards fire department. So 30 years ago, like I said, it was we go to fires, we go to car wrecks, and we dabbled a little bit in EMS. And if you look at us today, the resources and the services we provide are huge. And just some of the examples that I'm covering in this presentation, but our canine team, we have a state-of-the-art fireboat. We do water rescue on the lake that, for years and years, we didn't have that capability. Our tech rescue team that does confined space, high angle, and there's some photos from the avalanche scene last year up at Silver Mountain. We get a lot of questions when we go visit the schools. Children and parents ask us, so what do you do when you're not running around town with lights and sirens going to emergencies? Well, with our greatest asset being our people, our number one focus has to be on the health and safety of our personnel. And so we've focused over the last 5 years we've incorporated mandatory PT time each shift for each firefighter.
Physical training?
Excuse me?
Physical training?
Yes, yep. They try to squeeze that in when they can, obviously, because they're running 24 calls a day. We've required mandatory annual NFPA physicals that come from we have a designated department physician, Dr. Gibbon, who provides those physicals for Northern Lakes, Kootenai Fire, and Coeur d'Alene on an annual basis. And all of this is part of the Healthy In, Healthy Out initiative that the IAFF came out with 5 years ago. That concept is from day one when we hire a firefighter until the day they retire, we want to reduce their exposure to carcinogens. And so how we do that is we provide the best PPE and equipment for them to do their jobs. We promote decontamination on fire scenes. Don't bring that stuff back to the stations. We've put extractors in the fire stations, so it's a giant commercial washing machine to wash the PPE that have those carcinogens on them. We take our boots off downstairs on the apparatus floor, and they wear shoes upstairs in the living area that aren't exposed on calls. And those are just a few examples of that Healthy In, Healthy Out initiative. And we're still striving for that. We're in the process of removing carpet in the fire stations and replacing it with non-porous flooring that won't capture those germs. Same with furniture and chairs and stuff like that. The second thing we do most of all is training. So when we're not running calls, training, and when we focus our training, we want to look at low frequency, high risk. So the things that we don't get a lot of exposure to, but have the most risk to life safety, whether it's with us or whether it's with civilians. And some of those examples are there listed for you. Wildland Refresher is is a course that we do every year in the springtime that has to do with, we do some online training, we go out and practice evolutions with our urban interface areas around the city. Tubbs Hill, Potlatch Hill, trying to pre-plan some of those areas where we may have a wildland fire. Hazardous materials and all those things that the tech rescue teams do. The high angle rescue, the confined space, all those are dangerous type practices that we don't get a lot of exposure to, so we have to focus our training on those. The backbone of our organization is now injury prevention, public education, and community outreach. Like I said earlier, our fire safety lectures in the schools is something that when we get tons of requests for that. And during the pandemic, we didn't have the ability to do that. So we got creative and we said we still need to be able to deliver these messages. And that was part of the reason where we went down the AV road. We go to businesses and provide fire extinguisher training. We do safety inspections at the daycares. Our annual open house is a hit every year. We expect it to be probably 3 times as popular this year since we've been out of action for a couple years. That'll be September 11th this year, actually on a Saturday, and it'll be at Station 3 on 15th Street. We were really active with our mass promotions in the school district. We partnered with the health district and the school district to do that. And then our mock DUI at the high schools. So every year, police and fire team up and we put together a mock DUI scenario. This year, I believe it's at Lake City High School. Next year, Coeur d'Alene, they rotate. And it's just, we try to make it as real as possible for those high school seniors that are heading into the 100 deadliest days of summer. They're graduating, and we're trying to remind them not to drink and drive. And so we put this scenario together. We fly a helicopter in, and we make it as realistic as we can for them. And then, of course, our FireWise program for our urban interface areas around the outskirts of the city. So our community outreach, it's our opportunity to interact with the citizens in our community in a non-traumatic environment. So they're always seeing us where we come to their house, something burned up, somebody got hurt, and it's always in a negative environment. So we take that opportunity now in a non-traumatic environment to reach out to the kids and to community events. When they invite us to their events, we always try to get a fire engine to them. We may not be able to stay the full 4 or 5 hours in an event, but we'll always get a fire engine out to those events. And our standbys. This is a lot of what I do. Our standbys we're in the risk management business. So when we look at these standbys that are listed up there, we take the size of the standby, we look at the course, the layout, and what's really important for us here is access. We're response driven, so our response times are important to us. So when you take the Ironman Triathlon, for example, it's going south 95 all the way out to Higgins. And so we have resources staged throughout that course to minimize our response time in the event that a biker or a runner interacts with traffic or there's an injury or an illness out there. And so we take a lot of pride in staffing our events in our city, making sure that they're safe for both the athletes, the spectators, and that they don't interfere with everyday life, that we're going to have emergencies when Ironman's not here, but we don't want to steal resources from the community to staff these races, so that's why we have dedicated resources for them. So why is your fire department so successful? We believe there's 2 reasons. The first one would be our customer service philosophy, and that is we want to provide the citizens with something that they don't expect. So they expect us to come to their house, put a fire out, take them to the hospital, and do those sorts of things. What they don't expect is when we come to their house and recognize that there's a need for a wheelchair ramp. And so the guys, after the call, they go on their days off, they buy the materials, they show up and build a wheelchair ramp for a citizen. Or we transport a family member from a storage unit, and the guys remain on scene after they take them to the hospital. They empty the U-Haul and they take it back to the U-Haul store for them. So that's the customer service that people don't get to see, and we don't ask for accolades for that, but that is our philosophy now, is let's give the community something they don't expect from us. The second thing is our community partnerships. And with that, the two partnerships that we value the most is always going to be the one we have with our local 710 and the other city departments within the city. That's what makes the whole thing work. Without our neighboring fire departments and law enforcement agencies, we would not be able to respond to all the calls that occur in our community in a timely manner without crossing the lines in the sand, the boundaries that once existed between fire departments and police agencies. And so we're always going in each other's area, covering for each other. If we're doing training, we cover for each other. If we're having events like a banquet, we'll have Northern Lakes come staff our station in Kootenai so that we don't miss or we don't have a lapse in response times, and we do the same for them. We have our partnerships with the hospital and care facilities are pretty obvious because of our involvement with EMS. NIC and the school districts, I'll get to that in just a second. But this last year, obviously the health district was a huge partnership that we had. We felt that our involvement with EMS, it was really important for us to support the health district through the pandemic. And then of course, we want to always support local businesses. So Local 710, some of the things, these are the obvious things they do every year, but the things that the members of Local 710 do is just a positive reflection on the department as well as the city. These are popular events in the community that they do on an annual basis, and they're always coming up with new things every year. They think that, you know, their philosophy is being involved in the community is really important. The support that the community gives us, they pay back to them. The stair climb for leukemia hasn't happened in 2 years, but they got creative and decided we're going to go climb Canfield Mountain with our SCBAs on and our full turnouts. And it was the same equivalent of going up the tower in Seattle, the 69 floors. So they just, I believe it was last weekend they did that. So they raised a lot of money for leukemia. Pipes and drums and the honor guard, they're requested for everything around this community. People love the pipes and drums and the honor guard. And so the members of Local 710 are always willing to go out and help with events and funerals and you know, just large events in our community that take place, city events. So our partnership with NIC and the school district, this began with NIC probably back 2003, 2004, when we decided that we didn't have the infrastructure for all the CPR first aid that we were getting requests for, and they did. So we partnered up with NIC. They have the infrastructure to be able to recruit people to teach. We provide the instructors, they set up the classes, they reach out to businesses, and then we go out and do all the instruction. From there, we jumped into the EMT program and the Firefighter One program. Those have been successful programs. There's waiting lists to get into both of them. The Firefighter One program takes place out at Station 2, and we do the EMT program out at the Workforce Training Center out by the outlet malls. And we're finally starting to reap the benefits of those programs, where we're seeing those young adults that were trained in those actually getting jobs in police and fire in our community now. They're not going elsewhere to get the training and then landing jobs in those communities. We're a paramedic internship site for colleges across the country. They can send students here and get precepted with our paramedics. And then last is the high school cadet program that started about 5 or 6 years ago. That's a program that one of our members, Greg Thaxton, proposed to us. He wanted to get with the school district, come up with a program that was a 4-credit class. It's a semester long. And so they interview seniors in high school, and they select 3 of them a year to be part of each, one of them assigned to each of our shift. They get to learn the teamwork, responsibility. They get to go on calls with the crews. They don't go into structure fires, but they get to learn every other aspect of the fire service. And a lot of those students are going into down to Moscow, taking fire science, and some of them have already, I believe, Shay there in the middle, I believe she actually landed a career job at Northern Lakes already. So we're starting to see the benefits of these programs where these young adults get to stay in our community and with careers. And some of the exciting things going on now is we just entered into our second round of the mobile vaccination that we were providing, our partnership with the Area Agency on Aging and the Health District. I think we're day 3 of a week where we're going out and we're giving the homebound seniors their second round of vaccinations as we speak. Like I said, we're right in the middle of our upcoming staffing plans for Ironman and the 4th of July. We have 3 personnel currently in school with 3 additional ones starting in September. And we're always preparing and getting ready to for our next GeoBond in 2025. Our ongoing boat station project is moving forward, and we are excited that there's a possibility of a 3rd ambulance coming within the next year. And we're looking forward for the planning of fire station number 6, as the boat station would be number 5. With that, I would entertain questions or comments.
Kiki, any questions?
I've got a few.
Okay.
Dan, did you want to go first?
No, save me for later.
Comments? Oh,
My question was going to be about the fireboat. So what's the progress on, that is going to be called Station 5, you said?
Yes.
And that's going to be right down here by the Harbor House, correct? When's that supposed to be done?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh,
uh-oh. Can you get in the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Otherwise, I can't hear you.
If you will recall, last time I came to you, I said the gift that just keeps giving, and I hope not to have to come to council again on this. We are actually looking to start construction in September now. We have gone back and forth on engineering, and it has been as interesting a project I have done in my 21 years as chief. It's been very interesting. So the good news is we finally have engineer plans. We finally have everything we need. It's just a matter of going forward. And what's interesting, you heard wastewater talk about their boilers and how you get stuff when you can. Our big problem, believe it or not, is going to be galvanized metal, galvanized steel. So we're looking with the contractor who's going to be building the float system and getting the 5-ish weeks lead time just to get steel. So it's just been one thing. I can't apologize enough about the delay. We're not, we don't build things for a living, but it's been very interesting. So thank you for that question. I mean, truly thank you. I've been thinking, I got to get in tone what's going on, but that's our sad story on that. But we do have a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
good. So the fireboat the crew is at Station 4?
Correct.
Okay, so that's going to remain the same?
Probably not. We'll probably move it to the crew being from Station 1.
Okay. I wondered about that because of the closeness as to
Correct.
how that,
You
okay.
know,
so
with us, it's all about time.
Yeah, so that's going to move to Station 1. Okay, talking about Station 1, first of all, I had been touring the stations recently, and the staff has just been, the crews have just been great and very accommodating. Really appreciate that. A note on Station 1, I went through the substation that the police, or I don't know if you call it substations, their corner of the building. And that's a great location, and it seems like fire has gone out of their way to make sure that that's accessible from the outside. They take care of it, snow and sleet, and it's a large enough space. Is there, or do you plan on having conversations about maybe some upgrades, and whose budget would that come out of if we could get some cooperation to make a better location for the police in that particular location?
So we have not spoken about upgrades because for the last year-ish or so, they were looking to vacate that into something else. So there's really not been any great conversation about what we should or shouldn't do with that. I will tell you that I can almost guarantee you that Chief White knows that that's his chunk of land, and he can do with it pretty much whatever he wants to do with it.
Well, I'll have this conversation with him too. I just didn't know from your side where you were at with that. It seems like you know, that building is a little tired. It's the oldest one, but it's such a great location, it's such prime access
Right.
that it seems like a conversation we should continue to have with how we can better
And
utilize
through the last
that.
bond, we did do a pretty significant upgrade on it. But you're right, it's funny, I don't know if you know about this, it was built from the roof down. We got the roof from the library, and I believe we bought it for $1. And so they put a used roof on it and built down.
Nice.
That's interesting.
There's always great stories behind that, but I just think that was one that, as I was looking at all these buildings, and all of these buildings have outside access, I think almost every single one has at least public access or at least an outside card lock access where we can, you know, do some sharing within departments, I think, for those kinds of needs. So I'm appreciative of any ongoing conversations about that. Another question I had is, at Station 2, well, when I was there, they had a call, and I hadn't been there up on that end of town for quite a while. As they come out the garage doors, there's a new taco restaurant right across the street, and it has a very unusual.
Talking about Burger King?
Yeah,
Is it Burger King?
It
Is
is
it Burger
Burger
King?
King, yes.
Burger restaurant?
yeah.
Anyway, it has an unusual entrance to it, and I just wondered if there was any conversation about additional lighting or stop signs or something. That seems like, I mean, they literally had to stop and wait for the cars to figure out how to move in front of them before they could get out. And
That's true, and there's really no way we can change that, but what we can do is add that Opticom system, the emitter, to keep that light on Kathleen green so they can get through and then we can get through at the time. We did purchase all of the equipment for that 2 budgets ago, Troy? 2 budgets ago. So everything is purchased, it's just a matter of when it can get installed.
oh, that's in the works then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my last question was, you had talked about in maybe the upcoming GEO bond, a new EMT, a new ambulance, a new vehicle?
Yeah, that wouldn't be part of the bond.
No, because so I was kind of confused because I was thinking that new legislation said bonds could cover,
Rolling stock, yes.
Rolling
So we
stock.
can buy fire engines or apparatus from
Okay.
that now. But all of our ambulances come from the EMS system.
okay,
So we contract with them for the ambulances and for the cost of the personnel to run those
and that's
ambulances
right,
as
we
well.
talked about that. And then, so if a new one came on board, where would it be housed?
Well, we would probably, well, it'd be one of the other 2 stations. It'd be either 3 or 4. What we would do then is really do a deep dive into the amount of calls in an area, but more important to me, it's not the amount of calls, as we've heard that 1,000 times before, you're probably tired of it. Time is our enemy. So what we look for is our ability to cut down on response times. So we'll do Tom's done a really good job on that already. I think he has a pretty good idea where it would go. But, you know, that's part of our process is not to say, well, we'll put it over there.
Yeah,
We put
the
it someplace
analysis.
for a reason.
Right. Okay, good. I just take the opportunity to make sure I put the pieces together, so I appreciate
Please,
that.
thank you.
Mr. Gookin.
Well, I was gonna ask about the fireboat house
Thank you.
and the ambulance
Yes, sir.
and Fire Station 6.
Fire
What are
Station
you
6.
thinking for Fire Station 6?
Well, you and I've had a good discussion about it, and I'm on board with your thought process of putting it
Tried to put it on Celtice, but they didn't buy it. so,
someplace on
you know,
Celtice.
Yep.
It's kind of our hope, and we were told that there could be opportunities in there in the future, but that's where our growth is. And again, time, right?
Yeah.
Everything's time.
Remember, I had a chance. I tried to give you one.
Yes, sir, you did.
No one bought it.
Yes, sir, you
Okay,
did.
fine.
Thank you for that.
Most important question
Yes.
so far. So if a fireman and a policeman are standing at the bottom of Tubbs Hill, and there's a fire at the top, who's gonna get there first?
Well, they all got a lot of weight on, so that's a tough one. You know what? You know, I'm gonna say firefighter. You know why?
Why?
Because they can get in a truck and drive the fire road.
Okay. All right, good job, chief, thank you.
Thank you. And thank Tom. He did a wonderful,
And
he
you
put a
too,
lot of
Tom.
work into it.
Thanks, Tom, good job. Look for a move to adjourn. and
Motion
we're
to
out.
adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.